Greetings and salutations to all you folks out there. I've got a game for you today on Loki. This is a 1 versus 1 between Zlo and Embers. Zlo heard my cry for replays and he posted one of the most ridiculous and odd 1 versus 1s that I have ever seen. I did preview it because it is a pro level game and I wanted to have some idea of what was going on so I wasn't totally lost. However, someone else picked up this replay. TA for Life is going to be casting this. I have a link to his video, actually to his channel because he hasn't posted the video yet, in the description. Now, TA for Life is a highly technical caster, so if you're looking more for the mechanic side of the game, excellent play advice, and much more detailed speculation and looks into the gameplay, definitely head over to TA for Life's channel, and he has a tremendous playlist. I mean, close to 1,000 videos, almost all of them Subcom. And you can watch for days on his backlog. But like I said, he is a more technical caster. I shoot for more of a balance between technicalities and entertainment. So that is up to you. If you prefer that kind of outlook, definitely head over there and watch his if you only want to watch one version of this game. Without further ado, let's go ahead and launch. We've got Zlo taking UEF. He is over here on the left-hand side going land first and a very, very obvious air second, making maximum usage of his adjacency. And we basically got the same thing going on for Embers up in the north corner. He is also UEF. UEF matchup with people within literally one rank of each other on ladder. Like, this is as symmetrical of gameplay as you can possibly get. So we'll just have to see who is the better man here. Embers is also going first land, second air, and filling in his mass extractors with an engineer, as opposed to the ACU, which is what I think is planned down here for Zlo. There's the air factory, and you'll notice, yep, there we go. Couple of reclaim orders out. The trees in the back here are clumped up, similar to what you'll find on Setton's or Gap of Rohan, depending on your vice. And they do provide a tremendous amount of power if you reclaim the clumps together. I believe the clumps are 10 mass and 100 power apiece. Why you get power out of trees, I don't know, unless in the Subcom universe there is some magic where they can extract the chlorophyll out of the trees and then something with metachlorians comes into play, and I don't know. But regardless of what's happening, you do get reclaim from the trees in the form of power, so you can boost your early air game with that quite nicely. We've got a total of 7 P-gens, which is pretty typical, before this air factory goes down, and then some manual reclaim on the rocks up front. So there's not a whole lot of actual mass to be reclaimed on this map. There's a few units here and there, there's a few rocks here and there, but none of the hundreds upon hundreds of mass that you'll find in a bunch of other maps, other places. Actually, I'm sitting here pressing the mass hotkey, and there are no clumps of reclaim big enough to actually show up on the counter. Oh, there they are, boulders. There's 113, 113, and 138. So 3 large rocks for each side on the entirety of this map. So we got a little bit of early-ish aggression. There's not really any early on this map because it is a fairly large one with extremely convoluted layout. You can get through the middle here. There is one space. These are indestructible walls, so you will not be able to get rid of these. The center is basically no pass here unless you want to sneak a small amount of units and your commander through in order to set up a front base here. So you're pretty much restricted to going across and around this way, or going down and around this way. And then on the back side, there is water. Since we are dealing with UEF players, we will likely not see any amphibious combat units unless we get to the super late game and are dealing with Percivals, because building hover tanks I don't think is worth it on this map to get back here. By the time you fight your way all the way back to this area, you're going to get way more use out of pillars than you are out of riptides. So Zlo's got 2 land factories down now, and he is starting to pump out a handful of tanks. We have an early interceptor out, interceptor before bomber. Defensive posture for Embers, and the same for Zlo. There is a scout out from each player, though. It's going to ping across the base and see what they're having to deal with. Embers venturing forth with his ACU. He's going to set up base over here on this 3-mex pattern, get a land factory down, get that reclaim. All that good stuff. And yeah, he's got his third land factory going down, and the air factory is actually queued over to patrol over the base. Not sure what that's all about. Those are just going to die one by one as they encounter the 3 interceptors at a time over here. Hopefully Embers will realize what he's doing very, very soon and correct that. I think that was, yep, there, he did it just then. I think that was probably the patrol pattern for a scout if he was streaming a scout across. Land scout here, checking out what is going on this base, on this expansion, rather. We got 2 mass extractors and a hydro over here to claim, and then obviously you want to get a foothold on the other side of the water here so you do not get cut off. 4 tanks securing the triple mass point there. It looks like Zlo is not as concerned with getting out into the world as Ember is. He is getting the T2 upgrade on his ACU. Interesting. There he has a T2 transport coming as well. So I think we're about to see a commander drop. Maybe we'll get to see something interesting going on. T2 power is going to take a fair bit to build. Zlo is on 450 income at the moment, which is fairly nicely balanced, as you would expect from someone of the 2K rank range. Same for Embers. When you're floating power in your storage somewhere and you are slightly stalled on mass, that is absolutely as perfect as you can get. We are seeing a little bit of power overflow for Zlo. That is probably because he's not fully expending his mass, saving up a little bit so that when he drops over here, he'll have some to spend. And then he did get an energy storage down, so he has access to an overcharge if he really, really needs it. But since there's not a T2 factory, there is a T2 factory. I was lying as soon as I opened my mouth. There's only a T2 engineer there, so he may spend an overcharge on that, but otherwise I don't think it is a big deal. That's more for the protection of his commander than anything else. Why he started a mass storage, I have no idea. Tech 2 engineer is probably, going to wander into the path of those T1 point defense. Down it will go, and a pillar just barely escaping with its life. Zlo is going to take control of this base. That T2 transport is going to go down to those interceptors. Zlo will not have an escape path, and since he's pretty heavily invested in air at the moment, we're going to have a couple of tanks slip in from Embers. Those are going to take out a little bit of build power, not do too terribly much damage, and that T2 transport is just barely online, and it's going to go down now. So air is a problem over on this side, but we do have a buttload of T1 bombers and some interceptors providing cover over here. So even if Zlo does get stalled on his production, which he just fixed, he will be absolutely fine. T2 mass extractors going down, Zlo reclaiming that T2 HQ. He is going to have all of the mass that he can get his grubby little mitts on. Almost overflowing there, but not quite. He's going to have to get some extra power online very, very soon. Actually, he is still building that T2 gen. Come on, bud. Get some more assistance on that son of a gun, because you need to be able to spend all this mass. He did build a... Actually, that was probably a capture. The T2 mass point there. So that's going to give him a little extra income, up to 71 per tick, counting the reclaim. That is going to be 50 per tick total, I believe. No, 26. What is this madness? What is it counting? Okay, 26 mass per tick. My bad, people. I am looking at the wrong number. I was looking at the reclaim counter. Way to go, Brink. Pro level observations. T2 tank did get into the base, but there are a couple of stingers up, so that's going to take care of that, no problem whatsoever. And now there is a T2 gen up, so no more power problems. There's a tack launcher that's going to have access to all of this base over here, a fair little portion of the map, not too terribly much. Loki is a deceptively large one, so you can see there the range that has on it. He will be able to pop factories or a T2 mech should there come one right over there in that corner. So at the moment, I would say that Embers actually has a better handle on map control, and he does have superior income, at least from what I'm reading here. He's got hovering around the 45 range, maybe, possibly closer to 40, and Zlo is sitting on 28 mass per tick. He did get that glorious bump in reclaim due to taking over the base, but Embers got most of the map under his control and was able to reclaim some other stuff, so he is ahead on reclaim as well, although the power stall is real. Holy cow. T2 gunships getting out and trying to do a little bit of raiding here, but the interceptors are coming online for Embers, so he is able to harass those, possibly take them out. Zlo or not Zlo. Yes, Zlo definitely needs to get his interceptors out to cover those gunships. There's lots of anti-air in this mix now, so hopefully those will be able to protect themselves. We do have a couple of stationary anti-air here and there. So overall, Ember's taking this in stride. He is expanding over towards this side, trying to get a handle on as much of the map as he possibly can. And I do like this over here. A couple of tanks going to do a really good job of killing off that expansion. Ember should produce something right here maybe to negate those 2 tanks. It is only 2 tanks after all. You can build 3 tanks out of the factory and kill them. Not that difficult to do. Zlo has a mobile shield with him for a little bit of added protection, and he's going to drop a triad just out of range of those T1 point defense. That'll give him the ability to knock those point defense out without taking any damage himself. There goes the tack launcher. Looks like he is going to be eliminating the factories. Kill off the build power. Your opponent has superior economy, but the economy is not in reach. Therefore, you can take away his means of building. That is going to do wonderful things. Ember's getting a T2 gen online there, 1.4k income. That is going to clean up his power problems. Zlo, let's see, where he doesn't have many interceptors left, that is for sure. He does have quite a few T1 bombers. This is turning into way more of an air game than I thought it would. That mountain blocking the attack coming from that direction. That single triad doing work. 6 kills so far, and it's going to get that factory as well. What's the range look like on that thing? Just in range. You could ground fire it to hit that mechs and eliminate it. Would have been 1 tick further forward, he would have gotten it. But hey, area of effect on ground fire is an awesome thing to play with. Yet another air factory going down. Interceptors being produced now out of that T2 air factory. I know that this is probably common knowledge, but I'm going to address it because I don't know that I ever have before in a video outside of a tutorial, and we're in a slow spot. Do not, I repeat, do not build Januses for air control. Do not. Because none of the fighter bombers can compete with interceptors on a mass-to-mass basis. The interceptors are what you use for air control through the T2 phase unless you are Aeon and you can build Swiftwinds. If you try to build Januses or Corsairs or anything else to try to defend yourself from air, you will fail utterly and completely every single time. There's T1 bombers harassing this base now, and they are going to be able to take out that TAC with a little bit better targeting. It looks like they're going after the HQ at the moment. There's a TAC launched for regions unknown. Looks like it's going for something right here. Yes, that T2 point defense. The air cover is real from Embers. He has responded in a strong way to the heavy air presence of Zlo. T2 transport is loading up Lobos. I'm not sure that it's going to get very far though. T1 tanks trying to come in and harass, but between the Stingers and the point defense, that is going to be a fail. Once Zlo loses this round of interceptors, I think he's going to be pretty much out of the game on air control. He is building flak, though. That is going to help clear up the T1 bomber problem. He did lose his TAC launcher, though. That is highly unfortunate. Lobo's dropped right here. If he walks that right up, yep, that is exactly what he's planning. Kill the power. Kill all the power. It's always the best thing to do. Ember's in heavy control of the air at the moment. He is building interceptors like a madman out of 5 factories, and then Janus out of a 6th. So that will give him some offensive capabilities, but again, he is building interceptors for his air control. So never, never, never attempt to build 100% Januses and not any interceptors. Looks like we got stationary anti-air going down. Got 2 there. We got a T2 radar system going. And more drops. But that artillery drop is going to be right in range of the T1 point defense, so that is highly unfortunate. Embers did a pretty dang good job of resecuring these areas with his T1 bomber spam, and Lobos, not quite enough. Point defense is a hero, no doubt. Like I said, this is just an odd game. We've got Zlo in control of both spawn points, and we've got Embers in control of everything else. And all in all, it turns out to be about even. So, what you gonna do? I mean, we got 40... 33 mass per tick-ish. Maybe high 30s for Embers. He did take a little bit of a hit on a couple points in his economy. Zlo, on the other hand, sitting on about 50. So he does have a bit of an advantage. Nothing lethal, though. And both of these guys are experiencing some power stalling. We've got 12,800 reclaim for Zlo, and Embers sitting on 13,800. So not too much of a difference there either. Janus is coming out, going to go after the anti-air and then fail, thanks to the mobile flak and some interceptors, to kill anything of tremendous value. I definitely would have hit the T2 power generator. One bomber coming back around to do it. But that would have been a much more devastating loss. T1 bombers every freaking where. If you've got total air control, hey, why not? There's 2 flak moving in, though. Those are going to make quick work of those. Janus is coming in once again, and that's going to be a T2 P-Gen kill. If he can get another group of 4 bombers in to kill the other, well, now there's another coming up. Zlo is still going to be experiencing some pretty terrible power issues. The T1 bombers are actually going to take out the flak. Zlo's separating his flak so they don't both die at once. Flak is excellent at killing clumps of units, but once all the bombers separate and start their circling patterns, it's a bit more difficult for the flak to knock it out. And tanks in the base once again. This is a balance of air and just enough land to throw a wrench in the works for anybody trying to do 100% air. This is one of the oddest dynamics in a game that I've seen. T2 tank in the back. There's a hover tank. Belying everything I said at the beginning of the game about no one building hover tanks. Zlo is actually building hover tanks and sending them to the north. He did succeed in knocking out all those mass extractors, so kudos to him. And he is going to be able to get rid of these scouts before those oh-so-lethal bolters are able to kill that mass pump. Good lord, those snoops are devastating. T1 bombers still a circling. Managed to kill the T2 HQ, kill a T2 mass extractor just about, and one that's upgrading. I think there's going to be enough circling there. Cleaning up all of these units, there is yet another Riptide that got into that area. Come on, guys, 350 health. You could have killed that. But unfortunately, it was not meant to be. Zlo wandering into a triad and a T1 point defense with his ACU and taking basically no damage because, hey, I've got a mobile shield and you don't. He's actually able to capture that T1 point defense and use it to his advantage. So right now, Embers is a bit behind in power. Actually, where is his power coming from? Does he have resource allocation on his ACU? He does not. T2. He's got a bunch of T1 gens there. He's got a T2 gen and a T2 gen. Just kind of stranded out in the middle of nowhere. Honestly, those are waiting for a death to happen. Gunships now coming from Embers. He is going to harass this expansion for Zlo. And let's see, those are support factories building interceptors at a maddening pace. You may ask, why isn't either of these players going for T3 air? And that would be because it would break the balance of their economies. You'd have to over-invest in T2 power generators or take several minutes to get the upgrade pausing and unpausing your ACU. And in that amount of time, the extra income that you've diverted might just lose you the game when it is as precariously balanced as this one is. Mobile flak sitting just inside the cliff. I wouldn't call that a devastating hit on the air, but it definitely deterred that group from coming into the base. 2 flak, 5 flak together is most assuredly enough to deny a couple of puny gunships. I was trying to combine puny and measly in my head and it wasn't working out too well. Zlo, you got T2 Gen right freaking there. Kill that son of a gun. It is not scouted. He does not know what it is. Oh well. Got a couple of artillery moving through the back here. Hopefully he'll be able to get that taken care of and reestablish that expansion. That is a clink hammer. Zlo investing in a T2 stationary artillery. Obviously one of the weirder investments you would see on Loki, but it does give him the ability to cover this entire section of the map, which is no small area. The accumulated damage over time can make it worth having that T2 artillery there. Interceptors landing, and now we have the anti-air point defense coming into play. killing off about a dozen interceptors there before Embers realized what was going on and came to lift those off. Bombers are a higher priority than gunships are. So if you have a swarm of gunships and 2 bombers, you can send the bombers in spaced out and occupy 100% of the anti-air and send in the gunships to actually do the damage. And that TAC missile is going to clear the mountains and come in only to be, well, yep, shot down by the TMD. Buzzkills may be a little bit weaker than some of their counterparts, but they can still drop a missile that's flying overhead, especially when there are 2 of them. Kudos to Embers for trying to get that thing online and do a little damage to the eco, but unfortunately it was not meant to be. And that is some brutal devastation of bombers. Flak and interceptors galore. Got Riptides. Nope, those are pillars. My bad. Pillars pushing back those anti-air and engineers. Like I said, almost entirely air and just enough land to throw off the delicate balance of this game. Sorry for those of you using headphones. Just bump the microphone. Alright, Zlo, what you gonna do to solve this problem? Embers, where are you at? We've got Buzzkill going down to cover the T2P gen. That one is still just kind of hanging out in the air. I am amazed, absolutely amazed that that thing is not dead yet. I don't know how that's even possible, but it is. So much reclaim here for Zlo. He needs to get a couple of engineers out and reclaim that stuff. He does need the mass. So, yeah. Sam going down, that'll definitely get you some anti-air coverage. He did go for the T3 land factory, which is going to be way less power intensive than a T3 air move. And as long as you can use your interceptors, as long as your opponent hasn't gone T3 air, there's really not any reason for you to go T3 air unless you just want strat bombers. Pretty much the only thing that you could possibly justify that with. Another Buzzkill going down over there, probably planning a T2 mass extractor move and is preventatively building that TMD just in case there is a tag launcher that comes online. I don't see one so far, but that doesn't mean it couldn't happen. Radar sniping happening, that's about the best use that you can possibly put a T1 bomber to. If you can eliminate the intel, that is worth way more than the mass cost of a bomber. Lots of interceptors. Let's actually compare numbers here. Zlo is sitting on 57 and then another few that are out of fuel. And Embers is sitting on about the same amount, but his is way, way more depreciated, run down, out of fuel, spent, exhausted, something like that. Drawing a mental blank here. But it looks like Zlo is getting a T3P gen online, which will allow him to do some more power-intensive things in just a few minutes. He does have a Percival online, which is pretty much going to answer anything T2 that Embers can throw at him at this point. And Embers, I think this is the first time in this entire game where I can decidedly say that Embers is starting to look like he's at a little bit of a disadvantage. Zlo has a substantial bit more income, as well as access to more reclaim, and he has that T3 factory online, which Embers simply cannot answer at this point. Zlo doing a fantastic job of sticking mobile flak into every nook and cranny, trying to eke out that extra little bit of damage on the enemy air. Well done there. And then we've got this little raid here. It's going to be able to take out this expansion. That is a T3 factory upgrade that has been paused. Embers, I don't think really has the eco for that. And that finally died. What killed it? I didn't see. Dang it. I've been waiting for like 10 minutes for that thing to die. Okay, maybe not 10. And it finally died, and I completely missed what killed it. Probably those 3 tanks right there. I'm going to say it was those pillars and call them a hero. There's a drop. We got a Starlifter coming in. Embers being very brave with his commander. Flak taking a few hits on it. And interceptors, no! Oh, it was a last-ditch effort. I hate to say it, but I think Embers was probably right to do that, because if he could get into the base and do some damage, eliminate this stronghold, which I don't think was going to happen thanks to the Percivals here, he might have been able to fix what was happening in that game. But overall, that was just weird flow of gameplay. Kudos to Zlo on the early ACU drop. That did seem to unsettle Embers for the remainder of the game. And then Air swapping hands several times there with Bombers. Oh, goodness gracious, the Bombers. I don't think I've ever seen that many T1 Bombers in a 30-minute 1-versus-1 game. I've seen that many in a team game, but that was a lot of Bombers for a 1-versus-1. Alrighty, guys, hope you enjoyed that. Something a little bit different. And like I said, if you want really highly technical analysis of everything that was going on there, hit up TA for Life's channel. Excuse me. And you will definitely enjoy some of the stuff going on over there. All right. That is going to wrap it up for me. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I know I say that repeatedly, sometimes multiple times per cast, but I really do sincerely mean it from the bottom of my heart. And I will see you in the next one.